Let's do it. A terrible start from Van Walstein. Iglesias gets a good one. So does Denner, and so too does the fast starting Pex. Making his way further forward up a few places in the middle of the field. It's Vigano that comes through to third position in front of Senna Van Walstein, and there's problems further back. Couple of drivers making contact. Vigano trying to short out Senna Van Walstein, but Denner has gone into second behind Iglesias. It's a French 1-2 with Vigano in third, and a bit of a run wide from Tom Loyer as he tries to not lose too many places. He's having to go for it on the first lap and take quite a few chances.
Yeah, we do have everybody on board. No incident whatsoever. Tom Loyer, as you said, running into a bit of a trouble, going wide at some point and losing momentum as a result. He doubled down the order up to a P6, I think, the Frenchman with Tony Kart. A great start for Matteo Vigano up into P3. Let's see what he can do, but Senna Van Walstein, what on earth happened for the Dutchman, who was from pole on the inside line, messed it up completely. Quite an unusual sight for the Dutchman, as he's been so performant ever since the start of the weekend. Lap 1 completed. Jeremy Iglesias, Emilian Denner, Matteo Vigano, your top 3. Watch out for the battle as we are the number 8 of the Albanese going for the move, not quite yet, on Senna Van Walstein. The Car Republic in Shuttle Racing blue livery is being himself more pressure, putting more pressure on Senna Van Walstein. That was the first call, certainly the first of many to come. Watch out on the way to turn number 5. There's still drivers trying to put themselves on the right racing line. Where is Riccardo Longhi up into P7 in front of Gustafsson.
And Ippolito just lost out to Giuseppe Palomba as well. So a bit of a tricky opening couple of laps for the Kart Republic pair. Danilo Albanese currently in 5th position. Ippolito down to P10 behind Palomba. So this is a very tricky start for the squad. But how about this from Matteo Vigano? Suddenly he feels like he's got a kart underneath him that he can really challenge with. Over the course of the entire weekend, a Birilat has dominated in KZ2, but hasn't won a thing in KZ. Maybe in the final, the Leclerc by Lennox driver, Matteo Vigano, is going to bring his Charles Leclerc chassis up to the top spot. He currently runs behind Denner in the Sodi kart, who runs behind Iglesias in the CRG. Any one of these 3 men could win, and if they all falter, then Senna Van Walstein is still there waiting in the wings. Vigano making his bid in a second position. On the inside comes Matteo Vigano, and he's now into P2.
Yeah, good shot from Matteo Vigano up to P2, and Denner was smart on that one. He saw that maybe his door was a little bit more, but there he goes, fighting back, not quite yet. There was no more room and no door open whatsoever for Denner to counter-attack, but you could feel that Denner felt it coming in turn number 5. Not an easy one, actually. That's a bend where you go very, very flat, lift of the throttle, tiny lift, and then back into gear. So not quite easy to pull any maneuver off. Matteo Vigano did it, and Denner actually was smart enough not to lose too much momentum, because otherwise it could have been back of Matteo Vigano, and it all goes to the way of Jeremy Iglesias in the meantime.
Big wobble from Palomba. Palomba nearly pulled a Christian Bertuca there in turn 1. He just managed to catch the kart, and now Senna takes on Denner, but it's clumsy, and Denner goes down 2 places as Senna Van Walstein gets into 3rd, and Danilo Albanese goes with him. Meanwhile, there are yellow flags. We've got 3 karts off the road at turn 2, and again Albanese sorts it out. That's Tom Loyer. Loyer has gone, and so too have Christian Abulin and the 21 of Teresa Babichkova, the 3rd woman in history ever to race in KZ1. She's out, along with Christian Abulin and Tom Loyer. Devastating.
Yeah, devastating turn of event, and end of a race premature, unfortunately, for those 3 drivers. Tom Loyer, your pole sitter in the KZ class and qualifying race winner for the first time at this stage. Teresa Babichkova, as you said, one of the first few ladies for the past few years to compete at this highest level. Only the 3rd woman in the history since 2014 to compete in KZ, and her run has come to a premature end. That's quite unfortunate, but let's praise, of course, her effort to tackle this challenge for the first time of her career after competing last year in W Series as well in Gearbox in direct drive classes. Hopefully this won't be the last time that we see Teresa Babichkova competing at this level, as she will be certainly back in Sando, fingers crossed. But let's keep our focus up, because the battle for the places of honors and the lead is only getting started. Still just 0.4 of a second between Iglesias and Matteo Vigano. Iglesias thought for a moment that maybe he was able to pull a bit of a gap for himself and have a bit of a breather, but Matteo Vigano seems to have picked up the pace since the start of the weekend, and this is his best chance so far to go for the win.
So there are the 3 drivers sat on the sidelines now. Tom Loyer, Christian Abulin and Teresa Babichkova. Unfortunately, all three drivers out of the race. But Jeremy Iglesias, half a second in front of Matteo Vigano. Iglesias just looks so cool, so composed out front in the CRG. He looks like he's absolutely in his element as the rest of the field plays catch up. Right at the back of the field there, the number 16, that is Nico Lemberg, the Finn, the last remaining runner in the field, 27th position. We've now lost Francesco Salenta as well. I didn't see what happened to the Paralin driver, but I think Francesco Salenta has had to... there he is. So Francesco Salenta pulling off into the pit lane. So Francesco Salenta is out, along with Christian Abulin, Tom Loyer and Teresa Babic-Gova. 4 retirements so far, leaving just 27 remaining. But Iglesias doing his best on Vigano. Now let's have a look again. This is the incident on the first couple of laps. This is where we saw how close it really got between Vigano and Senna van Waalstein. And then Vigano making his move eventually to get into second position. Very nicely handled. Vigano really looking strong. Look how close Palomba came to losing it completely in the background. That would have been very scary. Now, how close did Senna van Waalstein come, not only to taking his teammate out, but he also almost took out Matteo Vigano in second.
Yeah, that was a brave move from Senna van Waalstein. He came close to...
Oh, that's another one off. That is Stan Pex.
Yes,
no, that's Jorrit Pex. That's Jorrit Pex, the former world champion. So Jorrit Pex is out of the race.
Quite unfortunate. Jori, not Stan, still with us in this race in P10. Jorrit Pex, the 2-time European champion in the KZ class, world champion back in the day as well. Quite unfortunate end of a race as well for Jorrit Pex, who was running in P17 at the moment. Not quite the pace that he wished he had for this opener of the European Championship.
See, that's how difficult it is. Even if you're a former champion like Davide Fore or Jorrit Pex or Pedro Hilbrand, it doesn't mean you're going to run in the top 5. You really have to work for it, and you have to get everything right just so. Tom Loyer has an investigation flag under his belt, so maybe they feel he was the reason that Christian Abulin and Teresa Babic-Gova joined him on the sidelines. That would be very unfortunate for Tom Loyer, but even in his first KZ weekend, it hasn't gone according to plan, but I think everybody now knows just what he's capable of in KZ. He can make a really good play of this in future weekends, and as I think I saw in the background, Arthur Carbonell getting his move on Davide Fore, and Pedro Hilbrand is under investigation as well.
Yeah, quite surprising as well for Pedro Hilbrand, who is running in P11 at the moment, the Spaniard. He's going to try to catch up as well with the rest of the top 10. Talking about Tom Loyer, this is the second time in a row after the superheat that the Frenchman is directly involved in a bit of a tussle on track. As let's see if he's going to be picked up by a penalty afterwards. It doesn't matter at this stage since he's no longer with us in this race.
Well, Victor Gustafsson has lost a couple of places on this lap, down behind Stan Pex, down behind Pedro Hilbrand as well. In fact, he's gone all the way to 14th, 15th place. In fact, where is Gustafsson? I don't think he's come through yet.
Oh my God, yeah, he's about to retire.
Where is the world champion? Victor Gustafsson has fallen from the fray as Albanese is trying to get his moves on Emilian Denner.
I think he just got back to the pit lane, Victor Gustafsson. I might have heard the engine.
Yeah, I think Victor Gustafsson in the CRG, the reigning world champion, has had to pull into the pits to retire. As now Paolo Ippolito is under investigation for something during the race. We don't know what it is. We're only just reaching half distance now. But I think Victor Gustafsson is now also out of the race. We've lost some big names from this one. Tom Loyer, European KZ2 champion. We've lost Jorrit Pex, former European and world champion. Victor Gustafsson, there he is, the reigning world champion, is now out of this race as well.
Yeah, quite unfortunate. That's a lot of names actually in the course of half of the final. 7 names that we've lost so far, pretty much, into this KZ final in Zuera, still led by Jeremy Iglesias very much so. 1.1 seconds from Matteo Vigano.
Yeah, his teammate is doing a great job. Longi slides in up the inside of Albanese. They bang wheels, and Lorenzo Camplese picks up the pace on both of them. Thanks, boys. You just trip over each other. I'll get into 5th position. Thank you very much.
Then another good move, sliding his way through into the inside for P6, Riccardo Longhi. Watch out for Daniele Albanese. Maybe he's going to try to give his money back into the turn number 7. It's not happening quite yet. Big gaps still into the top 3 with Senna van Waalstein 1.4 seconds down on Matteo Vigano. So the top 3 right now, we've got ourselves into the middle of that race, halfway through this final in Zuera. at the point where the drivers keep observing each other, try to find that bit of extra pace, that bit of extra energy in themselves to reverse the course of that final. But let's see into the later stages. That might change or not. On the inside, Albanese, oh, that was a close call. He just came very near to lose it on the entry.
And now Ippolito's going to try for him. Now that's the difference between Riccardo Longhi and Danilo Albanese. Albanese is the new boy to KZ, and Riccardo Longhi is a European champion. That was authority from Longhi. Come on, is that all you've got? Are you really going to try and throw it up the inside of turn one? You've got to know you're going to do that and make it work. Longhi gets a warning flag, maybe not necessarily for that move, but certainly Riccardo Longhi running the gauntlet himself. As now Paolo Ippolito closes up on Danilo Albanese once again. They battle away for supremacy. The two Kart Republic drivers now 7th and 8th. It's not been the easiest of races for Dino Chiesa's KZ boys, even though they've taken the win in KZ2 with Alex Powell. In KZ, there's going to have to be a little bit more improvement to come.
Let's not forget that Kart Republic has been pushing a lot in the direct drive classes as well. This is the main core of the business ever since the creation of the brand by Dino Chiesa back in 2018. So direct drive is really the kingdom of Kart Republic, even though they've been pushing a lot in the gearbox for the past few years.
This is where he got his warning flag. They thought that was just a little bit too far over the apron to go through on Danilo Albanese, I guess. And so Lorenzo Camplesi gets through. But now watch this. Danilo Albanese has the speed, he has the ability, he has the tenacity. But is he going to get through? No, not when Riccardo Longhi just holds it. There was a little bit 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there. That was Longhi shutting the door, but also Albanese bowing out.
Yeah, there was that bit of a move with the wheel from Danilo Albanese when he realized that, uh-oh, I might not have actually enough room to get through. Riccardo, well done, well played, mate. But that's going to be for next one, the next lap certainly. But at this point, Longhi and Albanese are split still by 0.3 of a second, so there's still room, there's still time for Albanese to try his bid again. As for Matteo Vigano, he lost momentum, 1.8 seconds on Jeremy Iglesias, and look, who might take advantage of the situation. Senna, Van Wallenstein and Emilian Denner, those two realizing that they cannot have a go at the victory anymore, have decided certainly to play along and to you know, play it smart as well as teammates pushing each other quite a lot, and Matteo Vigano is the new target.
Well, the new point scoring system means that Senna Van Wallenstein, even if he stays in third, will still be leading the European Championship as we head to Sarno, because he'll have 72 points compared to Jeremy Iglesias on 70. And I think we've lost Adrien Renaudin. Adrien Renaudin has gone off at turn one, I do believe. So the DR chassis has not come around again. And Adrien Renaudin departs his kart. There's the litter of karts up at turn two. But at turn one, Adrien Renaudin in the Danilo Rossi chassis has come off the road, and now he's walking back to the pits in bitter disappointment. So Adrien Renaudin, the former International Super Cup winner, there he is in the background, you can just make him out. So Adrien Renaudin now retiring from the race as he walks back to pit road.
And just before the eyes of the FIA Karting president, Mr. Akbar Ibrahim, just spotted him on the inside of turn number one. Pretty good spot, actually, to have a proper viewing. There you can see him on the right.
Oh, and he's not the only one. He's not the only one. We've also lost the Maranello of Felix Arnold on the last lap. So Felix Arnold has come on. There he is. So Felix Arnold went off there in sector 2. So I'm afraid the German in the Maranello has come off as well. They are absolutely littering the circuit now.
Yeah, definitely not the best of weekend for the Maranello squad. Felix Arnold, another of the drivers after the KZ2 final, joining the list of retired drivers from this final. Lap number 14 out of 18. We're getting near the conclusion.
We've got a real battle on for second place now. Vigano is being hustled here by Senna and Denner. The Sodi Kart boys are pushing Matteo Vigano here. Senna Van Wallenstein and Emilian Denner are working hard to close up on Matteo Vigano. But for Jeremy Iglesias up front, this couldn't be happening to a nicer, harder working Frenchman. He is doing such a great job with CRG. It's taken him a long time to get back to the glory days of Paulo Di Conto and Pedro Hilbrand. And here we are again. Jeremy Iglesias has his eyes on the prize.
And if I'm not mistaken, this could be the first victory of Jeremy Iglesias ever since his world title back in Lonato in 2020.
It certainly could well be. So, oh, mistake from Van Wallenstein. He drifted a little bit too far there into turn 7, and that's dropped him back into the clutches of Emilian Denner, his teammate, rather than on the attack of Matteo Vigano. But the fastest man on track is Jeremy Iglesias. He is the only driver to lap the circuit in under 58 seconds, and he's got 3 laps to go as he comes through over the line, this time by 3 to go then for Jeremy Iglesias on the CRG. There's Vigano, and then the two Sodis of Senna van Waalstein and Emilion Denner. Lorenzo Camplesi doing a fine job in P5. And then Longhi ahead of Albanese, Pex, Travazanuto, Ippolito, Hiltbrand, Palomba, Skrivan, Carbonell and Shrefilov from the back has worked his way into the points.
I know one driver must feel frustrated, certainly, beneath the helmet. Emilion Denner, he sees that Senna van Waalstein, his teammate, is still ahead, blocking all the doors at every bend, and he sees as well Matteo Vigano pulling away and unable to really to catch up with the Italian driver. He's not going to have a lot of time on his hands, try to decrease that gap and reverse the position, all to the advantage of Vigano, of course, who is more than happy to see the teammates battling along, at least not quite able to follow the pace. And that would be one of the best results of the past few years for Matteo Vigano at this stage.
It certainly will. But look, Emilion Denner and Senna van Waalstein in 3rd and 4th. They have a great relationship, these two. They're going to work very hard. Now, what's Pedro Hiltbrand gesticulating to Paolo Ippolito for? He is not happy in the slightest. He does not like what is going on between him and Paolo Ippolito at all. And they've been battling for quite some laps now. So Pedro Hiltbrand, I have a feeling there could be a long conversation after the race about this. But Hiltbrand and Ippolito definitely not seeing eye to eye. But, you know, to pick up between the Sodi Kart boys, for Senna van Waalstein and for Emilion Denner, they've got such a great relationship, these two. They are now part of the DNA of the Sodi Kart operation. They're not going to mess this up over pride of one person getting to the podium and another. Van Waalstein is going to be the championship leader, even if it stays like this, by finishing in 3rd. He'll notice that. He'll have the confidence. Emilion Denner is going to be 3rd in the championship if it stays like this. So they still have a great chance heading to Sarno. They're not going to do anything silly. They want to make sure there's still a good atmosphere in the Sodi Kart awning. So he's not going to push the escape button or the eject button to try and make that move when there's a doubt as to whether it'll work. Matteo Vigano, though, 2nd position. For me, he is already starting to put on a fantastic display here to storm his way back. I did say, didn't I, about Matteo Vigano from 6th on the grid. I just had a feeling that a podium might come the Italian's way. And he's now looking at 2nd as Jeremy Iglesias looks over his shoulder and he sees that Vigano is 2 seconds back, and that is absolute joy. But no, look, Lorenzo Camplesi has suddenly caught up to the Sodis. There might be a change of the guard here as Denner's got into 3rd. Denner's got past Senna van Waalstein, has he? He's managed to get through into position. Yes. No, he's got him back again. So Denner did get through on Van Waalstein, but Van Waalstein's got him back. So now Denner is falling into the clutches of Camplesi. They did battle for the final spot on the podium after all then. But here comes the man who will get the job done for CRG. Jeremy Iglesias wins in Zuera. Oh my goodness. Incroyable. Formidable. Jeremy Iglesias gives CRG their first win of 2023. After watching the sister chassis of Calicut come through to 3rd for Jorge Pescador in the KZ2 final, Jeremy Iglesias had a thought to himself, you know what, I can do better. And he has. He's won the first European final of 2023. And it is a very popular result, not just with CRG, not just back home in France, but with his fellow racers. He hasn't got a single enemy on this grid. And Jeremy Iglesias is the hero of Zuera.
Bravo, Jeremy Iglesias in French. Félicitations, une superbe victoire for the Frenchman. Jeremy Iglesias, the first of this season, is first at this level in KZ ever since Lonato 2020. And the achievement of his life dream of becoming a world champion. His second dream is to add to this one a European crown. And this is one way to start doing it. Victory at the opener of the European Championship.
Jeremy Iglesias from Matteo Vigano and Senna van Waalstein. Lorenzo Camplesi ahead of Emilion Denner, Riccardo Longhi, Danilo Albanese, Stan Pex, Lorenzo Travasanuto and Pedro Hiltbrand in the top 10. From Paolo Ippolito, Giuseppe Palomba, Marek Skriven, David Trevelov and Artur Carbonell. And already there is a huge cheer as the victors come through. What an amazing result. 16th for Luis Speck, Davide Fore ahead of Johan Sugel, Luigi Coluccio, Paolo Bezenzane, Jean Lier, Matt Deprus and Nico Lemberg. There were no other finishers in this incredibly dramatic race. And of course, not only is it a win for Jeremy Iglesias for France, but he does have a lot of roots here. This is a big moment for the CRG